Okay, let's go through problem 3.7. Says the Morningstar Top Fund list at the Morningstar.com website give the mean yearly return and the standard deviation of the return for each of the listed funds. Well, first we need to understand that mutual funds, they're simply a pool of investments. Basically, one mutual fund will have 10, 15, several different investments in that particular mutual fund. And they pool those investments together to have a profit. Here we have different investments, and we're simply comparing those different mutual fund investments. Here we have the RS Internet Age Fund, has a yearly return average of 10.93%. That's the yearly, that's the average, with the standard deviation of 41.96. That's pretty high. That standard deviation represents the spread of that data. Here we have the Franklin Income A Fund with the so forth and so on. So we have three different funds: RS Internet, Franklin Income, and Jacob Internet Fund. Now we're going to compare them. We're going to do a few different calculations so we can compare the different funds so we possibly could make a decision on which fund to invest in. Part A says for each mutual fund, find an interval in which you would expect 95.44% of all yearly returns to fall. Assume returns are normally distributed. Basically, we're going to find an interval where, since this value 95.44, that's from the empirical rule. Whenever you see 95.44, 99.73, or 68.26%, those values are from the empirical rule. They're really saying two standard deviations away from the mean when they say 95.44% of all yearly returns. So I need to find my mean and go two standard deviations to the right, two standard deviations to the left. Then you'll have an interval that would contain 95.44% of all the returns from the empirical rule. And again, this is statistics, this is probability. This is what most likely would occur, and that's the whole point of using the standard deviation. So here, let's pull up a window. We're looking at just this value here. Um, we have 10.93 plus or minus 2 times 41.96. That's the actual standard deviation. Okay, well, all we're going to do is, and let's go to the actual solution so you can see it, just so we can understand it. Here's the solution: the RS Internet Age Fund. Here we have 10.93 minus 2 times standard deviation plus 2 times standard deviation. This gives us an interval. What does this interval really mean? It means that 95.44% of the time in this RS Internet Age Fund, the interval values will be between these numbers here, 95.44% of the time, which means most of the stocks will be between these numbers here. Here, same thing for this one, same thing for this one. That's it so far. Part B, it says using the intervals you computed in Part A, compare the three mutual funds with respect to average yearly returns and respect to variability of return. Again, to keep it simple, we simply want to look at the variability of each one to see which one is more reliable or which one is more variable. If the standard deviation is small, generally it tells me whether a stock is, or whether a set of data is more spread out or whether it's more close together. And the set of data in this case happens to be the mutual fund values. So let's say all the mutual fund values were exactly the same. In RS Internet Age Fund, they had a mutual fund value that was $47, 46, 53. All the actual returns, they were exactly the same. Then the standard deviation would be low. Then that's probably a consistent fund to invest in. Well, that's really the whole point. The whole point is I'm looking for a fund that's going to be consistent and have consistent returns. Okay, let's go on to part two.